I'm trying to make a video.
We're now 9 movies into a series that's entirely about turning to the dark side or resisting and staying on the light. The path to the dark side is tempting, it's a slippery slope. But 9 movies in, we don't have a good depiction of what it means to be tempted by the dark side. Why is it so tempting? Why would a character that's repeatedly shown that they're good and pure be afraid they would suddenly turn into a child murderer? The entire series boils down to Palpatine or his minions trying to turn the good people into bad people by saying creepy shit to them and promising them power while being evil and creepy. Hilariously, this actually works one time.
Charlie, make a move. Just tell her you want to bang her.
No, is that how you get chicks?
He's got a 50-50 shot. That's a yes or no scenario.
It is a no scenario. Why?
What they should have done is actually illustrated the slippery slope, the dark side, why it's tempting. Show how doing a little bit of evil, embracing your hate and anger, actually makes you more powerful, and that power corrupts you. In Revenge of the Sith, Anakin turns to the dark side and starts murdering children because the guy who just turned into the devil right in front of him promises to teach him how to cheat death.
You underestimate my power!
But then hilariously never bothers to. In this one, Palpy looks like the devil and tries to say evil shit to his granddaughter who wants nothing to do with him. Also, she's constantly discovering new powers on her own anyway and don't need no man. Instead of Rey just getting new powers whenever she feels like it for reasons that we don't understand, what if she got them by embracing her hate, her anger, the dark side? She does a mean thing and then she gets more power. She's mean and tells Finn to stop screaming her name all the time. This hurts his feelings, and that hurt feelings gives her more force pushing for the hover hand. You could put someone she loves in danger, and the only thing she can do to save them is to embrace the dark side a little bit to achieve some power she needs. But then she starts getting corrupted by that power. She craves more power, and then you're on a slippery slope. Or we can just have her heal for no reason and no explanation. Remember when a dude became Darth Vader in the hope of achieving the power of healing, and then it didn't work? Yeah, she can just do that. Oh, Force lightning. You know what you need to do to get force lightning? You gotta be evil. You say creepy shit. You hurt people. No, you know what? Actually, I think Rey will get to do force lightning the way that pregnant women pee a little bit when they laugh. It just kind of squirts out. Rey heals Kylo and brings him back to life because even though he's like Space Hitler, who's been complicit in blowing up a bunch of planets, and basically every time they've ever seen each other, he's tried to either kill her or mind rape her. But yeah, she knows he's got a heart of gold because she also is tempted by the dark side and has wanted to kill children. Of course, elsewhere in the film, she's totally fine with letting tons of stormtroopers die like they don't matter at all and aren't people. In fact, sometimes she uses the Jedi mind trick so they can get past them, while other times they just shoot them in the face. Good thing we know all stormtroopers are evil, though.
You were First Order?
Not by choice.
This is the crux of this entire trilogy. Will Rey go evil, or will Kylo turn back good? It goes exactly as you expect, but why? Kylo murdered his father, tried to murder his mother, and has been involved in blowing up planets. But then Kylo dies for a minute, and Rey heals him back to life, and now he's a good guy. Why? Maybe in his near death, he had hypoxia, a lack of oxygen to the brain. Maybe he sustained brain damage, and that made him better, like a Sith lobotomy.
Cardiac arrest caused to lack of oxygen to the brain. It's going to be a long, tough rehabilitation.
So Kylo's good now, and he saves Rey, and then they make out. Oh my god, I laughed. Years and years of Rey, Kylo, Reylo, erotic fan fiction. You guys actually went and did that, huh?
What the fuck are you doing? This bit.
Right.
This bit. This thing you've been doing that's either sexual or violent.
Oh, yeah.
Do you realize, over this past year, what you've asked me to do to you? Collapse on your chest.
Yeah.
Tie your fingers in a square knot.
Yeah.
Step on your throat. Shatter your knees.
Yep.
And you know what? You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yes.
Because you know this was inappropriate, right?
I do.
But just from the beginning, you were just like, what?
I was having some weird fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now you're what?
I'm America's naughtiest bitch.
Sure, but more importantly, you're...
6 feet of nasty, spankable bird meat crammed into a suit?
Imagine if Kylo didn't die. They make out and he lives? What happens next? Is it a little something like this? Imagine Rey brings Kylo to Thanksgiving with her friends, and Finn and Poe are like, "You dumb bitch." You think Kylo would be a good boyfriend?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because it's something do, and something in parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
No, thank you. I'm good, thanks.
So your Xplodeons.
Thank you. What? Oh my god! Oh my god, you're peeing on me! Oh my god! Oh my god, stop it! You're still doing it! Stop it!
Joking, it's just pee.
It's gross! It's not funny, so stop laughing! It's gross!
Urine is sterile. A lot of people urinate on wounds to heal them.
Really? I don't mean that abortions aren't a big deal. I just meant that I have very little sympathy for people who do not use condoms. Because that is how you get pregnant, and that is how you get diseases, so.
Well, I don't know what it is about me, but girls never asked me to use condoms.
Girls never asked you to use condoms?
Nope.
What do you do? We always use condoms.
Do we?
Yeah. We used one last night.
Oh, yeah, I guess we do. That's probably why it takes me 25 years to nut whenever I have sex with you.
I'm so happy you're doing what makes you happy because I love you. You're the only person I've ever loved. And you're the only person I ever want to love. So.
Well, ditto.
Okay, good.
Because this guy's making you talk like a crazy person. You have sexually transmitted crazy mouth. Deal breaker.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Right about now you might be thinking, who the hell do you think you are? Okay, fair question. First off, yes, I have a mustache, okay? Get over it. No, I don't ride bicycles with the big front wheels. They're called penny farthings. I collect them. No, I'm not a Civil War reenactor. I'm getting ready for the next one. And as for, twisting my mustache while I tie women to railroad tracks, stop kink shaming me, all right? It's 2020. I'm trying to make a video. Get your butts. Okay, so the key to the mustache, you get upside down, you get peanut butter. Okay. And then you take peanut butter, and you put it in your beard. No, people don't. Get it up in there real good. You put it back so you get your beard hair in the peanut butter. Anyway, so hi, I'm a college English professor, and if you take my stupid class, that's awful, you might learn about critical theory, critical literary theories. If you think a work should be analyzed only by what's in the text, and not your own, interpretation of the author's childhood, or some context of the time, or something like that, then you're a textualist, or you follow new criticism, or a new critic, or you could be called a formalist. Some people are Marxist critics, and they focus on the means of production. Well, there's feminist critical theory that recognizes that literature both reflects and shapes stereotypes and other cultural assumptions. Thus, feminist literary criticism examines how works of literature embody patriarchal attitudes or undercuts them, sometimes both happening in the same work. Feminist theorists invite us to pay particular attention to the patterns of thought, behavior, values, and power in those relationships. And also to pay close attention to how female characters are just flawless, have multiple superpowers, and are good at everything without trying, and then take a man's name. I consider myself a feminist. For example, I like to make women pay on the first date. It'll really make them pay. There are others too, like critical race theory, Latinx, gender and queer theory, Disability theory, which is where you are like, hey, this author has diabetes, and then that influences them.
There could have been a very interesting forward-thinking, or even not even forward-thinking, just like current-thinking love story there. You know, it's something that hadn't quite been explored yet, particularly the dynamic between these two men in war that could have fallen in love with each other. And I would try to push it a bit in that direction, but the Disney overlords were not ready to do that.
It felt like an opportunity to show without it, being, heavy-handed or making too loud of a deal. It was sort of a part of the whole experience was to see a same-sex couple have a moment, together that was, explicitly saying in this galaxy, everyone is there and is welcome. Doesn't matter what your sexual preference, doesn't matter what your race, what your species, whether you're organic, whether you're synthetic. Star Wars is for everyone. And knowing that there hadn't been a representation like that, it doesn't take away from anyone. It just shows that Star Wars is for all of us.
There's something called post-colonial literary criticism. I took a whole class on it. It was called The Empire Writes Back. Here's some of the books from that I'm going to smear peanut butter on now. This is not it. That's from something else. But for example, post-colonial lit, you got Arundhati Roy, Ngugi wa Thiong'o. You've got Salman Rushdie, Midnight's Children. Nervous Conditions by Tsitsi Ndangarumbaga. Apocalypse Now. Things Fall Apart by Achebe and Air Force Two, Going Rogue. Post-colonial literary criticism looks at the peoples who were recently colonized or decolonized. The effects that it has of being part of an empire that doesn't care about you. But we're in America, so we haven't been part of an empire in a long time, so we don't keep making movies about like a giant evil British Navy that oppresses us and we're the rebels too.
Yes, Captain. The fleet has moved out to flight speed and we're preparing to
deploy the fleet so that nothing gets off the system. You are in command now, Admiral.
At the end of the original trilogy, the underdog rebels have won, so now what? Did they live long enough to themselves become an evil empire with a giant navy, a space force, an insane leader, and then they use the world as their own personal bombing range? And now you're like, hold on, I don't want a political message in my Star Wars movie. Lucas made clear which side he was rooting for in Vietnam. Quote, a large technological empire after a small group of freedom fighters. It's how a good person turns into a bad person. In A New Hope, Luke Skywalker is like Vietnamese, and the empire is America. So that, yeah. Lucas sees the US as the evil empire, which used to have noble intent, but embraced a technological terror, win at all costs mentality, has turned evil. They've lost their soul. He was involved in Apocalypse Now and almost directed it himself. See, the bad guys don't think they're the bad guys. And if you can spread this message, then there might be bad guys who might think differently and open their minds and realize that they're doing evil.
Are we the baddies? Just can't think of anything good about a skull.
What about pure Aryan skull shape?
Even that is more usually depicted with the skin still on. I really can't think of anything worse as a symbol than a skull.
A rat's anus?
The parallels between what we did in Vietnam and what we're doing in Iraq now are unbelievable.
But more than 300 civilians...
This is called the me, which is the meaning. So what's the me of this trilogy? What happens after the rebels win a war? Will power corrupt them? You need to put your main characters into moral dilemmas, something more complicated than just good guys good and evil Frankenstein grandpa bad. Rey is just pure good, never faces any dilemma. Kylo tries to turn her to the dark side, but he's just like space Hitler, and he's like, hey, come join me running Nazi space Germany. Not exactly a dilemma there. This trilogy had one piece on its proverbial chessboard that it failed to use. The Queen, Leia. Luke turns into the jaded, isolated old Jedi that wants the Jedi to end. The Luke and Kylo backstory presents a moral dilemma because Luke senses Kylo will turn evil and he thinks about killing him before it could happen. Would you go back in time and kill Hitler if you could? But this actual moral dilemma is used only in flashback. Han's not a great husband or father or leader of a rebellion, so he goes back to being a smuggler, but he's too old, he can't hack it anymore. But Leia hasn't changed in any way. She's just still, 30 years later, just hanging out in Bomber Command, just giving orders to ships, and even after they won and they shouldn't be the rebellion anymore. The message this sends is that there's just always going to be the good guy underdog rebels, and there always will be an evil empire. Even when you win, it just happens again.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
So while the good guy rebels are like celebrating at the end, you just know some fascist dicks are like building more doomsday devices. This was all pointless. What if Leia's leading the New Republic, and because of how evil the Emperor was, and the Darths, and the Death Star, I mean, they blew up her home planet, so she has plenty of reason to just go 110% into, like, destroying the Sith once and for all. So maybe she's, like, looking for the Sith home world, she's trying to blow that up, get rid of the Sith sacred texts, destroy their temples, and maybe she's going too far, you know, maybe there are cultures that are kind of dark side, kind of Sithy, but they're just kind of doing their own thing. They're not like evil people. It's just like a different culture. And so she's going after them. Maybe she's radicalizing and inspiring many to join some kind of dark-sided rebel force that's just fighting for survival, fighting for their way of life. Like how fighting a war on terror with drone strikes is kind of like having an AIDS awareness orgy. Sure, you kill some terrorists, but for every one you kill, if you inspire two more to start being terrorists. So the Knights of Ren, her own son, they oppose her. They aren't a giant empire. They're just like a small band of rebels. This could flip things. You'd have the bad guys being the small band of rebels. And as Leia and the Republic are trying to snuff them out, they keep radicalizing more people to join the rebels. I mean, you know, we hate the Emperor too. We hate the evil Sith, so we could like root her on as she's doing this and then start sympathizing with them. Maybe some kind of moral dilemma. Maybe Leia will be forced to confront her own demons and realize she's being evil. Or maybe she'll double down and just embrace it and be like a genocidal anti-Sith person. What about Rey? Well, maybe she's Leia's apprentice. I mean, she does train her in this. Luke quit after all, so Leia's training her. But Leia is all like light side good, Sith evil. In 7, we're happy to go along with it and think, oh yeah, Leia's great and we're gonna go kill some Sith. But along the way, we start to see that they're just this oppressed people that want to save their way of life. They're defending their religion. Would Rey turn on Leia, her mentor? Could she go through with that? Would Luke turn on Leia? Or instead, you know what, let's have a whole trilogy that comes down to, do you kill obviously evil Grandpa Frankenstein? Now they kind of do this a little, in that they have Luke not want to train Rey. It's kind of a little mini antagonist about it, but not really, and then he changes his mind, and it's not really a big dilemma either. This series doesn't ask any questions. The good guys are obviously good, the bad guys are obviously bad, there's no moral dilemma. So what's the theme of this trilogy?
What about pure Aryan skull shape?
It's about a super powerful girl from a super important family living in a world with an out-of-control military-industrial complex, which has casinos and loves drone strikes. And how the way to become a hero is to just happen to be born to the right family, get those family powers. And then when your creepy old man wants you involved in the family business, say no. So that means that Rey is Tiffany Trump. This movie is about a party full of white supremacists, a lot of white guys, they've been evil for years, and they just keep growing and getting power. And then Grandpa takes the reins and starts tweeting. And then a bisexual black guy and a furry go viral on TikTok, getting everybody woke, and then the woke people show up and they shut down Grandpa and his army of red hats.
There's no such thing as bisexual. That's just something they invented in the 90s to sell hair products. Deal breaker.
But when it comes to the Rise of Skywalker, I think the key to understanding this film, and this trilogy as a whole, comes down to comparing it to one specific film. Harrison Ford is an evil corporate lawyer who cheats on his wife, he works too much, he's never around for his daughter. He defends this shitty doctor who killed a patient by arguing that the patient never disclosed he was diabetic, even though he did. So he screws this family out of the money in a lawsuit.
Give me a break, will you? I just want a pack of cigarettes.
But then he gets shot in the face. He dies, almost.
Cardiac arrest caused to lack of oxygen to the brain. It's going to be a long, tough rehabilitation.
I'll be your physical therapist for the remainder of the evening. All right.
In some ways, he's starting from scratch here.
You're stepping like a natural man. Go ahead.
Little loop, cross over.
How did you learn to do that?
You taught me.
Because of his brain damage, he has to learn how to speak again. He's very childlike.
They love you. They're gonna take care of you. Well, I don't want them to take care of me, Bradley.
Where were you?
I bought a dog.
Mom, look. Since you've come home, we haven't made love.
And then as he gets better, he starts to realize who he used to be, how he was an asshole, how he cheated on his wife, he was a dick of a lawyer.
What we did was wrong.
What we did is paying for our lunch.
I thought I could go back to my life, but I don't like who I was, Bradley.
He kind of becomes a good guy and fixes those things. He goes and gives proof that the doctor did know about the diabetes, and he helps that family. He reconnects with his wife and his daughter. The lesson of this film is that if you almost die, get brain damage, you become a better person. Does that sound familiar?
You didn't like showing affection in public. It bothered you.
I don't mind so much anymore.
We were in love once, years ago, and then we weren't, not for a long time. But we're better now.
Die, brain damage, come back to life, turn from the dark side to the light, reconnect with a significant other, okay with PDA.
Regarding Henry.
So Harrison Ford happened to also be in that movie. That's like a weird coincidence. What does that have to do with Record Scratch? Very criticism. Okay. Oh, dear God. And now a brief word about the sponsor of today's video, a product I use myself.
Are you tired of trying to use these wimpy, girly things? That's why you need manscaping for real men. Disney's new Manscaper Plus 4000. You're looking for something to put under the tree, well, you can chop the tree down and put it under. It's 2-for-1 special. Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. The Rib Prevention Garden Shears. They are the sharpest tool in the shed. The Rib Prevention Garden Shears. They are the sharpest tool in the shed.